In this chapter, you will come across the two words, consumer goods and also capital goods. Let me explain these two words because this is going to be regularly being used in this chapter, and then you would also read it several times. Consumer goods are also referred as consumption goods, which is very obvious that somebody who procured them or acquired them for the purpose of consumption. That means they are the final user of that, and there is not something that's going to be used for further processing. You use it, you buy it, you use it yourself, and that is what we can call this as consumer goods, which is not for providing any other services, which is not for providing any other production, and that is what is consumption goods. You are the final consumer. This quite often is identified under two heads. One, they call it as consumer durables, and durables are the ones which can be used over a long period of time, a longer period of time, and that is what is consumer durables. Normally, they call those items which are used over 3 years, unless you have bought a product which kind of comes off while it is not supposed to be. Let's say, for example, you're buying a fridge, and then that fridge is expected to last longer than 3 years. So that can be considered as consumer durables. And then non-durables, which is usually consumed on a shorter period of time. And non-durables would be like, usually they take it shorter than 1 year. But then in our country, we quite often are not having this strict Western economist definition of 3 years, 1 year as a very effective reference. And that, however, we understand the real thing is that you are using that item for your own consumption, and that is what is consumer goods that we have got. Some people also include the services part of it. Then we have got the capital goods. Capital goods, as some of you will find it very basic, but then the goods which are procured for the purpose of producing more goods. And that becomes the base, the foundation on which subsequent production is done, or some services which can be provided based on that. That is called as capital goods, goods that are used for the purpose of providing for the goods or providing for the services. Quite often some people refer it as also as fixed asset. So fixed asset could also be seen here in that case. And those items can be actually depending on who is buying it. So quite possible, if you imagine there's an item which is bought by a person which is for its own consumption. Let's say, for example, somebody buys a stove for running a restaurant. That stove becomes a capital good if it is used for running a restaurant. And if somebody is buying the same stove for its own consumption, that will go into consumption goods, not the capital goods. So it's not the good, actually. Its use also has to be kept in mind. I am using this DG board to take classes, providing services. This DG board would be an example of capital goods in this case. If I had bought this for my own consumption and reading for my own self, reading newspapers on this, I suppose, and then I was not using it for any further production, this would have, the same DG board would have become a consumer good for that matter. I hope this concept is clear.